Welcome to Girl Talk, and this is the remix version. Hey, I decided to put out a second version of Permission to Be Free. Why? Because I think you need to re listen to what it means to be free. What does that mean to you? What does that mean to your family? What does that mean to your friends? Hey, you can't get from point A to point B to point C to point D and beyond if you don't understand what it means to be free. What does that mean to you? Does it mean that you're removing the things that bind you? But yeah, if you're removing them, what are those things? And this episode really digs into what are the things that are binding me, that are stopping me mentally, physically, psychologically, things from my past that are binding me today, that are not allowing me to be the best person that I can be. I've recently posted, I was gonna are words that we always use. I was gonna do that, but I forgot. I was gonna do that, but I was gonna is not a strategy, but I was gonna is tied to those things that bind you, those things that allowed you to be bound and not free. Go ahead and listen to this episode and think about those things that are binding you today that are not allowing you to be free. It's the remix, y'all. Go ahead and take a listen.
Welcome to Girl Talk with your host, Melissa Ann. Girl Talk is that show which discusses the real issues Black women face being a mom, a dad, a wife, a girlfriend, a sister, a co-worker, a therapist, or whatever hat Black women wear on any particular day. Why? Because Black women are just dope. Without further ado, here is your host, Melissa Ann.
Welcome to Girl Talk with Melissa Ann. This is your girl, Melissa Ann, and today I am very excited to continue the conversation on just being free. We have an awesome speaker and author and minister with us today, and I am so excited to be in her presence. Michelle, let us know more about who you are and what you do and the awesomeness that you have displayed in front of so many of us that have taken in your awesomeness and grown.
Well, thank you, Melissa. That's so sweet of you to say. I just love you so much, and I'm honored to be on your show. I just love you and have always admired you from way back in the day. Well, I am Michelle Fuqua. I am a lady who is a woman of God first. I put God first in every area of my life, and then I move from that place. When I move in the confidence of knowing that I am doing what God has called me to do on a specific day, and it always aligns with the mission that He has given me for my life. So I am a wife and a mother first, although they don't always get the most of my attention. They are my greatest why. I'm a pastor of Living Water Church International. I am an author. I have written one fiction book, which I need to finish the sequel to that. But right now, I am on a mission to help women in particularly, but people in general, to live up to who they were created to be. You know, Melissa, I've done some research about Black women in general. I'm so glad that you're talking about free to be.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you go and you search on what keeps Black women up at night,
Right.
the things that come up are just sometimes heart-rending. You look up what causes Black women to worry, and you get pages and pages about mental health, the mental health state of Black women. You look up what do Black women want to do with their lives, and you find pages and pages about careers and jobs and things that pay. And being free to be really resonates with how I view women and where I would like to see them go. And it's into that sweet place. It's into that place of this is who I am. This is who I was created to be. and I am going to live in this space. And in living in this space, I'm able to have power and I'm able to have prosperity. We we tend to start our lives with, how can I survive? What career can I choose so I can survive? And then we live our whole lives and we focus so much on surviving that we don't take the time to be. And I know I didn't introduce myself by saying I have a degree and I have a certification and all of that. All of that's important, but what's more important about who I am is who I want to see other people to become as I am becoming, as I am being released by God to step into higher levels of being, which brings with it certain levels of fear and anxiety of stepping outside of your comfort zone.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So a couple things I gleaned from that comment was, first of all, when some people say they are a woman of God, you may raise an eyebrow. I just want you to know that you are, I believe, and I know that you are a true woman of God. So just as much as you've admired me, I've admired you because of that. So I wanted to let you know that. And then second, I'm curious to know, what did you find when you Googled what keeps Black women awake at night? I've never Googled that.
It really broke my heart, Melissa. Pages and pages of mental health and the things that Black women worry about. We go to jobs and we perform at our highest level of excellence, and we get 10% of the recognition. And we see men and women of other races and creeds and even our own race exceed past us when we're doing all of the things that we need to do to succeed. Our children walk out the door and our heart cringes and our stomach gets butterflies in it because we don't know if they're going to return home. We have these visions of a life for our children that we want to see them live, and we take it upon our shoulders to help to propel them into it, with all of the fears that we have. We find that many African American women in particularly end up divorced or they end up not married. Uh, and some of that has to do with the views of Black men in regards to who they should marry. You know, there's been a trend of Black men towards relationships with women who are not Black women. Even my sons uh, are following that trend, and I'm not against people loving who they love and all of that. But I think when you do that, you have to make sure you're doing it not out of self-hate, not out of some subconscious view that in order for you to improve your value, you have to leave your race and go marry someone else. I see women who are fearful of being who they're called to be because they have to be one way on the job and then there's another way that they want to live. So they have all of
Right.
these
Free. Being free.
these different personalities. When I research and I look at it, we are the largest group of people who are having to juggle all of these issues. And it really makes it very hard to come to a place of clarity on your true self, on who you
Yes.
are, what you're
Yes.
called to be, how you do it and still make a living, how
Right.
you go into that job, because most of us are still on a job. How do you go into that job and wear that costume and then come out, take it off, switch gears, and be your true self? We have to figure out how to be our true self all the time and force that envelope. And when you can't be your true self, really making those hard decisions about where can I be my true self and finding a way to get into that space where you can be your true self and still survive. And I want to challenge us to get past that need to survive and really say, I refuse to just survive. I have to thrive. I have
Absolutely. And
to.
and you must have listened to the last podcast, which, Stephanie Chick talked about thriving versus surviving. And then,
Oh yeah.
thriving versus surviving. And a lot of times we're just surviving. And you talked about being one person in, your work environment, and then another person in another environment, or your home environment with your friends. And we would call that multiple personalities. So,
Split personality.
split personalities. So it has to take some type of hit to your mental psyche as well.
Yes.
If you, were to tell women, and your dialogue here is great, and you're giving great nuggets, but how do we get to that free? Like, how do we help others understand that is those are the burdens that we carry? Your kids going out the door, you don't know if they're coming back in.
Yeah.
Putting food on the table. And a huge one I thought was you talking about, we have expectations of our children, and we try to propel them into those expectations. But what I found is our expectations aren't necessarily their expectations.
Oh Lord. You remember a certain pastor used to say you don't have a remote control for your children.
Yeah.
I want a remote control for my children.
Yeah.
Because I know what's best for them.
Right. Right. We forget that they're people.
They are people with brains of their own, and we've taught them well. We've taught them how to think, and we might not like how they think, right? So you asked me the question, how do we get to that place? And I understand the necessity of working and having a job, and everyone can't be fortunate enough to have a job that they love. I have a job that I love, and I work for an excellent company. And there are people out there who are truly going to work every day, clocking the minutes. And my heart goes out to you ladies, and I want to say, keep pushing forward, keep doing what you have to do, because we know that there's a necessity in surviving. But I want you to also free yourself to dream. So, Melissa, what I have been saying for the last 12 months to ladies is, when you find yourself sitting at a stoplight and you have this, what people would call a daydream, where you see yourself transformed into some new place, some new life. You see yourself going on a job and you're doing certain things that you aren't doing now. You see yourself in a business. You see yourself writing a book. You see yourself owning a yacht. And then the light changes and somebody blows the horn, and you wake up back to reality and you go, I got to stop daydreaming.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then even if you share those daydreams with the people who you currently have in your circle, they say, girl, why are you tripping? I want to say to you meaning anybody listening, I want you to start tracking your daydreams and see which ones you daydream on consistently, and challenge you to ask yourself, is it really a daydream, or is it a God calling? Is God taking what time you are making available to him? And perhaps the only time he has available is when you're sitting at that light. And that's another whole topic. But if he is getting to you while you're sitting in that light for that 30 seconds and dropping something in your spirit that you're categorizing as a daydream, I want to challenge you to stop daydreaming, start day doing. I want you to start making a list of your visions that you're having, and we're going to stop calling them daydreams and we're going to start calling them visions for your life. And I want you to write them down. Put them somewhere where you can see them. Take time to consider them. Figure out what of the things that you've written down, what is really calling you? What do you want to be? The therapist would say, or the coaches would say, what do you want? What do you want out of life?
What do you want, Michelle? They specifically say, what do you want, Michelle? What do you want for Melissa?
What do you want?
What do you want? Yeah.
And haven't we been trained that what we want is irrelevant? It's
Yep.
not as important.
It's for everyone else. It's what we
It's for
want
everyone
for
else.
everyone else.
We got to bring home that bacon and cook it.
Yep.
You know.
And then clean up after.
Yes. But I want to challenge you, ladies and men, if you're listening. Same for you. Same for you. Same for you. But I'm dealing with the ladies right now. I want you to take one thing on that list, and I want you to ask yourself, why can't I have this? Why can't I do this? Why can't I be this? And whatever comes to your mind as to the whys, I want you to write them down. Oh, you know that if you go and you try to do that, be that, have that, somebody's going to figure out that your mom and daddy was alcoholics. They're going to find out
Right.
that your brother
Right.
died from drugs. They're going to find out that you got all of these, you know, sinful people in your life that you grew up with. They're going to find out that your bills ain't really paid, that you look better in public than you do in private. They're going to figure out that you are fake and a phony. They're going to find out that you don't really know anything, that you're not capable. And then that's when we're getting somewhere, because all those reasons why you can't have your dreams, all those things that are playing in your head, keeping you immobile, are the things that we need to deal with.
And those are the things that are stopping us from freedom, right?
From freedom, yes,
Yeah,
because
those
we're stuck.
we're stuck. We're worried about all of those things that you said. Oh, what are the people at church going to think? And I'm going to be transparent with you. Like, I never wrote books because I was in church and I'm like, what are the people in church going to think about my books? Because I use foul language. My characters use foul language. There are situations in the books that aren't necessary in alignment with going to church and ministers and the people like you that are in my life. So for a long time, I wouldn't put them out because of that.
And I hate that, because I have always seen you as so incredibly talented and beautiful. And I know we went to church together for a season, and I can understand how that burden can be upon people, because you get around all of these holy rollers who are living these completely holy and perfect lives, and you're just an average normal person living the struggle that average normal people face. Even though you believe in God, you believe in Jesus, you're trying to live your best life as holy as you can, but there's some things that are in you that you have to give birth to, and they don't align with the traditional views of holiness, right?
Right.
You got to do it. And I've had that too. When God first called me to write, beyond I really just want to write romantic. I just really want to just write love stories. And right now, I can't get to those because I got to finish 10-year-old assignments that God gave me, And
Uh-huh.
I said, I'm not capable. I'm not qualified. Nobody's going to read it. Do you know who my mom and them was? Did you see the house I was raised in? Have you looked at my bank account? Do you see the mess in my life?
Mm-hmm.
All those things that we tell ourselves when He's not trying. He created us free. He created us as powerful beings and put
Mm-hmm.
us here. And it's our responsibility to tap into what he has already put in us and given us. And if that doesn't line up with other people's views, you have to make sure when you lay your head on the pillow and God is talking to you, make sure it's God and not a demon. But as long
Correct.
as it's God talking to you, you have to be obedient to that. You have to do what he is telling you to do. I mean, look at me. I'm a female pastor, and I started my church in 2012. And even as I started it, you would hope and think at that point that I had put to rest that whole concept and idea of women stay silent in the church. Let your husband talk for you. Go sit down somewhere. Do what you're told. But even as I struggled with that message, 3 o'clock every morning until I said yes, God woke me up. And that is what resonated with me. And I was not able to have peace until I said yes to that move. And ever since then, and this is probably a book I need to write about the support that women preachers get, and then the support that Black women preachers get, because it has been really one of the loneliest journeys of my life is
Wow.
following the calling that God has given me into ministry and being true to that and doing what he says, opening my mouth and speaking and teaching as he says. I'm not going to tell anyone that it's going to be easy to live your dream. And sometimes your dreams seem like a nightmare
Right,
because I
right,
was
right,
quite happy in the bushes and it was a nightmare to come out and start a church, but it has grown me in ways and released capability that I didn't even know that I had. And as you trust God and do what he's telling you in those dreams, he will free you and you will walk in the fullness of your freedom of who you are, what you were created to do. And then you will find how you take that and you turn that into your personal ministry slash business. Not
right.
not necessarily, you know, I was called to be a pastor, and for years, because of some things that I was taught, I never asked for the offering, the tithe, or any of that. Since 2012, I haven't taken a salary as a pastor, but I would like to do full-time ministry at some point, leaving the corporate world to do full-time ministry. And God kept saying to me, how are you going to do full-time ministry if you're not doing anything to generate wealth?
Right,
And so
right,
I had to do another shift in my thinking. And
right,
now I'm okay with being a pastor who needs to have the opportunity to have a business, which is books and publishing, and who also is available to mentor and coach people through inner circles, through programs, and make them pay for that. Because I've given that stuff away for a long time, and I love you, boo boo, but I have to do what God is calling me to do. And if I'm going to globally help the people that He's put in my life, I have to turn it into a business as well. So He helped me to create an org chart where He said, these are the things you give away for free. There's still some free things, and here's your business. And I love that it has brought me clarity. And I want to say to you ladies, start doing something every day outside of your comfort zone that's on your list of day doing and start walking towards it. Get a vision of where it is down the road and start taking steps towards it. When you start walking, you're going to tremble in your boots because it's different. Your mind is going to start throwing things at you. Your friends and your people are going to start ridiculing you, but they did that to Noah. And look
yeah.
at where we are today.
Do you
So
feel free?
I do. I feel free. I don't feel like I'm at the pivotal point of where God is taking me, but I'm free to get there.
Do you feel free? And you talked about two different people. You talked
Yes,
about your work self. You talked
there's at
about,
least three.
yeah. Do you feel free in all of those areas?
I feel, and I'll say, unfortunately, when George Floyd's murder was videoed and put all over the world, it really shook a lot of people, and we are having more dialogue about that, both in the corporate sector and ministry, on social media. You have to be very careful how you talk about it and who you talk about it to, because some people aren't open to talk about it. They just want to argue. But I'm finding that even with my friends at work, even with my coworkers, even with my managers, even with our leadership, they have embraced the whole idea of let's move forward. Let's have a true and honest conversation. Who are you really as a person? So it is getting better. Now, of course, there's parts of me that everybody don't need to know. There's parts of
Right,
me that
right,
have no place in the corporate world.
right, right, right.
I took a class a long time ago called taking the stage. And when you walk into certain arenas, you are taking the stage and you're bringing to the table not a fake version of you, but the version of you that is relevant for the setting that you are in. because we're
Right.
such complex creatures. No one ever has time to get the whole 360. So figure
Yeah.
out what part of you belongs where, and over time, move towards working in environments where the 360 of you is welcome.
Yeah, I heard someone say one time, a leader say, they don't need the spade playing me coming into
They might
work.
now, when they need you cutting some deals and helping to get some things done, that's
There's
the one they
elements
want.
of that, but you don't need to talk about you reneged.
Yeah, Lord.
So,
They don't need the neck rolling, hand on the hip sister
yeah.
talking to her children, right?
Yes, definitely. So we have a few moments here. I took so many notes, but I wanted to ask before you talk about some of the projects that you're working on. What are three things that you would suggest that Black women do to free themselves to dream?
Number one, you have to give yourself permission. You
Okay.
have to you have to every morning when you get up, get you an affirmation journal. I have a journal that I've started keeping in the last year. I always had affirmations on sticky posted around, and they changed a lot. But I came up with some specific affirmations that help me to walk towards my vision, and I say them every day. And one of them is I give myself permission to be my full self. And then of course after that, because I am enough, because I am capable, I am the apple of God's eye. He would go to the end of the earth to save me. And I have value that is immeasurable. It cannot be quantified in earthly terms. So I give myself permission to allow all of that to come forward. And we have to say that. And then number two, and I don't know if you watched any of my videos in February, but I said give yourself permission to love you and take care of yourself and do things to honor who you are. So as you give yourself permission to be free, then you have to take action based on that permission. So if you give yourself permission to be free, then what are the top 3 areas that you need to work on? Is it your fitness? Is it your mental health? Is it your finances? Is it your relationships? And write out some freedom statements in those areas and some daily actions that you're going to take in order to do that. And
Amen.
then number 3, and this is the hardest one. This is the hardest one. You need to examine your surroundings. Who's in your inner circle? Where are you going? What are you allowing in your ear and in your eye?
Ooh.
And how much
Ooh.
time are you spending there? Because those are informing your belief. You say you're going to give yourself permission. You say that you have value, but then are the people in your circle affirming that, or are they pulling you down? Are the places you going really lining up with who you say you are and what you want to do? So I have a workbook that I did called Creating the Life You Envision. And that wasn't a plug. It just came to my mind. And one of the things I put in there, because you know I'm an engineer too,
Yes, I do.
I put a spreadsheet so you can go in there and you can write down all the people and the places, and you can do a weighted matrix and give people scores, and then prioritize that list and draw a cut line. And if you don't make it above the cut line, I'm sorry, baby, but you got to go.
It's funny you should say that because you don't everybody's not going to do a matrix. But there are people that are imposters in your circle
Yeah.
that are pretending to be something that they're not, and they're really toxic to you in the
Yes.
background.
Yes.
So you do have to figure out the value people bring, and if there isn't any value in it, and if the value is toxicity, then you have to remove yourself.
Yes. And that's hard because we tend to lean on those relationships, and they might be toxic.
You're right. And, people ding me or talk about me because I move away from people. But if I spot that toxicity, then I remove myself.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know, maybe I don't do it in the best form, but I just walk away. But it's best for me because I have already too much on my shoulders to have to deal with the toxicity also that you're bringing into my lap for no reason.
Sometimes that's people that you share the same bloodline with, right?
You better talk about it.
Mm. How do you declassify your family?
Ooh, I think that's another topic.
So let me
Ooh.
just say one thing. I have concentric rings around me, 10 of them, and I put people in those concentric rings.
Well, you're going to have to explain what the concentric ring is.
Okay, so you have a circle and you draw a bigger circle around it and a bigger circle. It's like a ripple. So the people at the middle are the closest. The people that are the farthest out are on that 10th ring. So you can put people at different places and they don't have to know that you put them on ring 10.
Okay.
You can move people from ring 1 to ring 10 and they not even know that you did it.
Okay. That makes
But
sense.
you can still smile at them, still love them, but they don't need to share your dreams. You don't have
Amen.
to share your dreams with everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So only you should count the people who know your dreams on maybe one hand.
Right. Well, it has been a pleasure having this conversation with you. I'm excited for the listeners to hear this, to get their spirit filled, to get these nuggets, to get these tips to become better people and to free themselves. We know we're not going to free everyone, but if they got at least one lesson out of this, one of the top three, if they do at least one of the top three, I think they'll be well on their way. So before we end here, I'd love to give you the opportunity to talk about some of the projects that you're working on, as well as where people can find you to get some more of this juice here.
Sure. Right now we are in launch for Sold Out Volume 2. We are having our bestseller campaign on Tuesday, where we would like for you to go and purchase the ebook on Amazon at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time.
Okay.
My next project will be the Soulful Affirmations, which is in that same product suite, and then my third project will be I Am Speaking, which is another affirmation book for women who want to be disruptors. And I have finally finished for the 20th time my book, and it is going to the editor on Sunday, How to Walk in Your Purpose. And we will be launching that along with a course, a coaching program in May or so. And in that
Beautiful.
program, I'm going to help women to get unstuck. I'm going to help them to believe in themselves, and I'm going to help them to put together a roadmap for how to get to their dream. And all they will have to do is dream and do day by day, and they will get to where they want to be in their life over time. Over time. Follow me on Instagram. I've been using Instagram a lot this year. I have a group on Facebook called Purpose, Power, and Prosperity
Mm-hmm.
Sisters. I go in there every Monday and I do Monday meditation. I do personal development and spiritual development teachings for that community. And that is where I like to collect all of my friends so I can have you right here with me and get you into some of my circles. And that if you go to my Instagram page, I have a free course that will help you to get your vision and your mission if you haven't done that for this year. And then there's some other things that you can get as a result of that. I don't want to give the links. Just go to my Instagram and in my link.
What is your Instagram?
Michelle W. Fuqua.
Michelle W. Fuqua. Perfect. Yeah. I got tongue tied there. Michelle
I got
Fuqua.
links to everything. There's links everywhere. So just go to my Instagram.
I'm sure people will be connecting to you, and it is a pleasure to know you, to love you, and I really appreciate you joining me today. So thank you, and listen, I see you because I am you.
You have just listened to the Girl Talk podcast with your host, Melissa Ann. Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or Google Play. Until next time, remember, I see you because I am you.